Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Julian Morris. In the headlines, Minister for Education says government investment in education is bearing fruit. The first ever Kalinago Economic Summit convenes, and former Member of Parliament for the Salibia constituency, Francois Barry, to be laid to rest on Thursday. The details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. Minister for Education Honorable Octavia Alfred says this year's CXC results indicate that government's investment in education is yielding fruit. She says education comprises a major component of the national budget and records one of the highest area for budgetary allocation. The People's Republic of China is playing a key role in the advancement of government's education agenda.
The government of Dominica has also placed significant emphasis on skills development, particularly with respect to teacher training. Exactly 1 week ago, you witnessed the groundbreaking ceremony of 6 China Aid Project schools. A China Aid Project is 6 schools in a package. Among the schools to be constructed is the Goodwill Secondary School, which is earmarked to be a center of excellence for TVET in Dominica.
The school will be specifically designed to provide many technical vocational offerings to students from across the island.
Within the next 3 years, our students will be exposed to, our students will be exposed to cutting-edge TVET equipment and training that is poised to be the most modern TVET facility within the region. I know some people are going to want to come here, especially to be part of our robotics. Let's position ourselves so that we make good use of what we have and we become a good center of excellence so that we might be known regionally, so that people can come to Dominica to study. Because too many times Dominicans have to go to study. Now we are positioning ourselves so that people will come to Dominica to study.
The minister has also given a thumbs up to students who have excelled in TVET.
Over the years, we have ensured that all our public secondary schools have offered at least 2 TVET subjects to students. Since I was a secondary school principal, we ensured that our school, every child graduating, had to leave with a TVET subject. Now, some people do not call IT TVET, but when you look at the real TVET, EDPM is a TVET, is a skill too. So even if it's not woodwork and you can maneuver yourself when it comes to the computer and the IT, that is a skill. So it's not just about the woodwork and the carpentry. There are lots of other more fancy things people think that are above the carpentry. That's also considered a TVET skill.
The government of Dominica has also invested heavily in human resource development.
The Ministry of Education has assisted teachers in pursuing higher education qualification in a wide range of subjects in order to improve the teaching and learning process. Our relentless effort in training staff at the CSEC syllabus to make sure that they master the delivery of this syllabus in the various subject areas has proven beneficial. I want to highly commend Ms. Celestine for the work that she's doing to ensure that our teachers are ready to deliver.
Government continues to support students to ensure that they succeed.
Textbook scheme, transportation, uniform, school supplies, school feeding program, payment of school fees and CXC fees, just to name a few. And I say to students, you have no reason not to do well. And we ourselves need to find out why our students sometimes do not perform when we have all of that in place. And this is where the pastoral care at school level becomes important. We cannot just know our students' name and address. The bio data is not enough. We must know where they live, how they live, with whom do they live, if there's food on their table and there's shoes on their feet, and if they have a good place to sleep. True? Because just one of those things, if it becomes a missing dimension, can determine if a child fails or succeeds.
The minister is pleased with the performance of the students in CVQ this year. She especially commended the students for their performance. She expressed concern that a number of students left school this year without a single subject at CXC level.
If the students do not have the capacity for whatever reason to do CSEC, maybe we should start thinking of letting them write CCSLC in 3 or 4 or 5 subjects in fifth form so that they can. But if when we go back to that, the reason why some children are like that is because somebody paid and they didn't show up. Reset. A lot of things coming under reset, you know.
The Education Minister also appealed to teachers to show greater concern for their students' background and circumstances, both of which are likely to have an impact on learning.
Whatever you have in your head, too many people have degree and thing in their head. Drop it in your heart and embrace people. Embrace people. See people as people. It works, and it works magic. And maybe that is what some of our teachers need. That all you have to ask about the sick mother, how is your mom? Ask the child, how is your granny? The child will know, you know. I had a boy who was coming to school late every day. And one time I called him to the office, because everybody just beating up on him. He says, Miss, either I come to school late every day or I don't come. Because I live with my granny. I have to make her cereal for her and all of that before I leave. I have to make sure she has what she needs for her to help herself to bathe. And sometimes I have to wait for the person that comes in so I can help them. And then I come. So either I reach late sometimes or I just don't come. I felt so sorry. All it takes is a little conversation. Activate your affective domain.
Former Member of Parliament for Salibia constituency, the late Mr. Bernard Francois Barry, will receive an official funeral on Thursday. Thursday's funeral service will be held at the Salibia Roman Catholic Church. Mr. Barry was the parliamentary representative of the Salibia constituency from 1993 to 2000. He first entered Parliament following the by-election of 1993. He was re-elected at the general elections of 1995 and served as Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Sports. The funeral service for the late Bernard Francois Barry will commence at 3 p.m. to be followed by interment at the Salibia Roman Catholic Cemetery. Viewing of the body will take place from 1:30 p.m. at the Salibia Catholic Church. Thursday has been declared a day of national mourning and flags shall be flown at half-staff on all public buildings. The government of Dominica expresses deepest sympathy to the family and friends of the late Mr. Bernard Francois Barry. As part of activities for Kalinago Week 2023, the first ever Kalinago Economic Summit was held on Wednesday, September 20, at the Kalinago Barana Ote. The Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment, in collaboration with the Partnership Initiative for Sustainable Land Management, has hosted the first ever Kalinago Economic Symposium. The forum forms part of several activities for Kalinago Week and is geared at stimulating dialogue towards the positive growth of the Kalinago territory. Prime Minister of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, commended the organizers of the forum. He says the forum provides an avenue to make use of the opportunities that exist for the development of Kalinago people.
I want to commend the organizers for this event. I believe it is an opportune time for us to meet as residents of the Kalinago territory with some friends who are here with us to look at the economic landscape of the Kalinago territory and what we need to do to take advantage of the opportunities that we have for the economic and social advancement of the Kalinago people in the Kalinago territory. You're celebrating 120 years, and in this celebration, you have with us who will soon be elected as president of our country, a Kalinago. And I think it speaks to the achievements that we've had as a people.
Prime Minister Skerrit says the commitment of the government is in the best interests and empowerment of the indigenous people.
And I want to say to you, the investment that we've made and my utterances in respect to a commitment to the Kalinago people is not steeped in political consideration. It is steeped in my, as I said, my understanding of history and the need for us to address historical injustices that have been meted out to our indigenous peoples, not only in Dominica but the world, and to ensure that we give them the opportunity to be empowered and take advantage and to be independent. And this is what we've been doing in terms of our investment in the Kalinago territory. And so let's see how we can build on what we have. And so we can have a full house, a whole house of engagement, of plans and programs that we can realize the true development and true potential of the indigenous peoples of Dominica.
The Kalinago chief, Mr. Lorenzo Sanford, says the summit focused on 4 major areas for economic development.
Our focus lies on 4 critical domains: cruise tourism, overnight stay tourism, agriculture, and fisheries. These sectors hold a promise of prosperity for our people, unlocking opportunities that can shape a thriving future for our Kalinago community. Distinguished speakers, including Mr. Benoit Badwell from the Dominica Seaport Authority, to Mr. Julian Defoe, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Blue and Green Economy, will enlighten us on the avenues available for the governing sectors.
The Kalinago chief says the Kalinago Economic Forum will build the self-reliance and prosperity of the Kalinago people. In March 2023, a cargo vessel arrived in Dominica carrying a substantial amount of heavy equipment for the construction of Dominica's International Airport. Aaliyah Martin has more in this report.
In March 2023, a cargo vessel arrived in Dominica carrying a substantial amount of heavy equipment for the construction of Dominica's International Airport. Just 6 months later, the significant amount of work that has taken place at Wesley shows government's commitment to delivering the most important infrastructure project in our nation's history.
It's one thing to discuss the international airport in an office. It's one thing to see the plan, but being on the site and seeing the progress and the amount of work done in just 3 to 4 months is incredible. And I'm saying to all Dominicans, this is our flagship project. This project is going to open gateways for us in trade and tourism.
The International Airport Development Company is satisfied with the progress of works thus far.
The finalizing of the batch plant site, where you have concrete and asphalt batching taking place, so concrete storage, concrete mixing, and then there'll be testing, lab testing by the contractor happening in that area as well. Right next to it, you'd see that there is a fuel farm to ensure that the machinery that arrived and that are working on site are constantly fueled and can work unimpeded for the length of the duration of the project. And then what you'll also see is that the initial grubbing of the entire site to provide motorable roads for the dump equipment to be able to traverse the entire site. That has also started as well.
While over 200 Dominicans are currently employed on the project, there is room for more employment as the project continues.
There are too many distractions going around. If you have nothing to do, instead of wasting time and energy marching in Roseau for nonsense, come on the international airport site and see the amazing work being done to transform this site on our journey to building the best airport in the region.
Currently, major earthworks are ongoing, with much more expected in the coming months.
Although the land around us by Dominican standards looks relatively flat, the amount of cutting and filling that has to go on is actually tremendous. It's probably one of the single biggest earthworks projects happening right now in the Eastern Caribbean. Upwards to 14 million cubic meters of cut and fill. To give that in context, when you look at some of the valleys. There's somewhere of 40 meters of fill, 60 meters of cut happening in some of the areas. So a lot of the movement you're seeing right now is just getting ready and ensuring that that work can go on, because as we've said in the past, Dominica has no flat land. Although this looks relatively flat, when you come closer, you can see the valleys and the hills that all would have to be leveled out to create that airport site.
The Dominica Labour Party administration is the first government to move towards actual construction of Dominica's international airport. The project is creating avenues for investments in various sectors on island. Dominicans at home and abroad are being encouraged to take advantage of these investment opportunities.
Start thinking of what services you can offer. Airbnb properties, new hotel investments. I'm sending a word out to the Dominican nationals abroad. Form groups. Come back and invest in your country. You never know what happens around the world. But once you're a citizen of Dominica, this is the only place for sure you can call home. And this is a safe country.
The International Airport project is being funded through the Citizenship by Investment program and is expected to be completed by 2027. Aliyah Martin for the Government Information Service.
Thank you, Aliyah, for that report. Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has cautioned citizens against bringing the country's Citizenship by Investment program into disrepute. Prime Minister Skerrit says some citizens disregarded the impact that the CBI program has had on Dominica for political gain.
There continues to be an attempt by some in this country to destroy the CBI. And so they are colluding with international journalists and some regional journalists to propagate a lot of mischief, misinformation about our program, all in an effort to destroy it. And some people are part of this in Dominica just because they want to get the Labour Party out of government. Now, when you get the Labour Party out of government, and God forbid you to come into government, and you destroy the CBI, what's going to happen?
The Prime Minister noted that the CBI program funds many of the social, developmental and infrastructural programs and projects around the island.
A program that underwrites a significant part of our economic and social development. A program that is underwriting the full cost of the National Employment Program. Close to $5 million every month. A program that has been used to build thousands of homes, improve healthcare, help with national security, help with diversifying the economy and growing the economy in agriculture and tourism with the building of hotels. A program that is constructing the international airport and which will construct the marina to create economic opportunities in our country. And there are some of us in this country who are benefiting from it and who are in the same vein seeking to join forces with international people who would like to see this country brought down to its knees and no source of funding from the CBI so that they can say, there it is.
Prime Minister Skerrit added that Dominicans should condemn the actions of those who seek to damage the program. He also updated the public on actions being taken by government to address any issues within the program.
We have to condemn it as Dominicans. And so you'll see in the next few days and weeks, also stories being written about Dominica, CBI, and all these things. You know, in our case, we are taking action. There are a number of actions that we've taken to improve the management and the oversight of the program. I have said earlier we are in discussions with an international accounting firm who will engage. I made an announcement in Parliament some weeks ago that we will engage an international firm who will come in and do a comprehensive auditing of our program. And in the next few days, we should be in a position to finalize with this international firm, and I'll be in a position to name that firm who will come in to assist us. We have changed the legislation. We're going to be bringing additional legislation to make it more difficult for citizens to change their names, which has been a concern for our partners. So we're taking all of the actions that need to be taken.
You are watching National Focus. More when we return.
I enjoy going out there and just holding the big fish. I don't lift weights, I lift fish. The morning of my fishing trip, I would get up, make a little spiced tea. Then I come down here. I have my GPS, which most fishermen are supposed to have that. Normally I prepare the day before, because whenever you're going out there, you must have ice. Ice is a must for preservation of the fish. So I always make sure I have everything the day before. My fish represents me, and I bring good quality fish ashore simply because the restaurants themselves, they have to show a quality product. Tourism and agriculture go hand in hand. That's what I think. We're all connected. It's like a big machine, and I'm just so proud to be a part of it. My name is Brandon Carlisle, and tourism is my business.
Welcome back. Prime Minister the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has addressed the issue of delayed payment to some NEP employees. The Prime Minister made clear that there are different categories of NEP workers, and an effort is underway to have all salaries paid directly to their account.
So there are people who work in the private sector. There are people who work in the government system, the public sector. And there are people who work in the beautification program, and there are those who also engage under the as caregivers to various senior citizens across the country. Those who work in the private sector, those who work in the public sector, and many of them who are caregivers, they are paid by direct debiting of their accounts at their respective financial institution. So they're paid just like all of the public servants who get paid on a monthly basis. So we don't issue a check to you, and the money is sent into your designated account and so forth. So we don't have issues with these people at all.
With respect to employees under the beautification program, they are paid through the village councils by cash. The Prime Minister says he wants to ensure that the payment system is efficient for all categories of NEP workers.
In some councils, they're paid in cash. And so we're trying to eliminate that practice and get everybody to be paid direct debiting of their accounts at the respective credit unions or financial institutions. So a decision was taken to get that going. Some councils were very quick in reconciling the list with the NEP coordinator, and others were a bit slow in doing that. So those who were slow in doing that, some of the NEP people would not have gotten paid on time. What happened in some councils had extra money of government. So this is the way we're trying to avoid situations where councils have more than what they should have gotten. So there's some councils that were able to pay people with the monies that they have left over from the previous month. And so we're trying to reduce on those practices and to ensure that that we pay people who are actually on the payroll and who are actually working. So we're trying to eliminate the sending out the money to the various councils for onward payments to the council. So there was a transitionary period for that. And so that once that is addressed, they won't have any challenges going forward. They'll be treated as salaried workers, as we normally do with the other section of the NEP.
President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles A. Savre, is heading Dominica's delegation to the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York from September 18 to 26. The session is being held under the theme Rebuilding Trust and Reigniting Global Solidarity, Accelerating Action on the 2030 Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals towards Peace, Prosperity, Progress, and Sustainability for All. World leaders meet at the UN headquarters every September to debate key developmental issues affecting member states. This year, discussions focus on climate finance and mitigation and will explore solutions to advance peace, security, and sustainable development. President Savre will address the Assembly on the morning of Thursday, September 21. His Excellency delivered an address to a high-level political forum on sustainable development on behalf of the CARICOM on Monday. He called for urgent action from the international community to reform the international financial architecture and ensure an enabling environment for developing countries to actively participate in and benefit from the global economy. He states that CARICOM's support for gender equality, empowerment of women and girls, reduction in poverty, access to clean water and sanitation, food and energy security, and the use of technology is a transformative tool for economic growth. Dominica's delegation to the UNGA meeting includes First Lady Mrs. Clara Savre, Minister for Foreign Affairs Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Mrs. Barbara Daly, and Dominica's Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN, Ambassador Kelva Daru. In the absence of President Savre from the state, His Excellency Hubert Charles will discharge the duties of Acting President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. September 19, 2023 marked 93 years since the historic Kalinago Uprising. Ministry of Kalinago Upliftment, in collaboration with the Kalinago Council and Kalinago Events Committee, hosted a memorial smoke ceremony where Kalinago descendants paid tribute to their fallen Kalinago ancestors. The ceremony was led by Kalinago shaman, Mr. Gerard Langley, who is the head of the Karina Cultural Group. Cultural Officer of the Kalinago Territory, Mr. Prosper Paris, welcomed individuals to the ceremony. He gave an overview of the 1930 Kalinago Uprising.
The Kalinago people were suffering from a tremendous disaster. A shop was right here in the Matiwa. And we used to be doing, as our custom and tradition, doing trading with the neighboring islands of Guadeloupe, Martinique, Marigaland. And the colonial policemen at that time thought it was the best time to come and raid the Kalinago territory in what they say was an illegal trading, a practice that the Kalinago people were doing for many, many years as a free Caribbean people that would migrate from island to island. The result of that incident was that 2 Kalinagos were shot right here on site because they resisted colonization. They resisted against people imposing on their rights as Kalinago people.
Presidential nominee and the former Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Kalinago Upliftment, Mrs. Silvani Burton, encouraged those present to unite to preserve the indigenous culture.
Today, as we remember our ancestors whose blood was shed on this piece of land, fighting to ensure that the colonialists did not take over and that we are here today as descendants, we truly have to continue to be united as a people, to unite with other persons who are willing to assist us to continue the traditions of the Kalinago people. And we truly have to thank those who are keeping the culture alive. I am very impressed this morning to see that there are a number of children here, those from the Salibia Primary School and those who traveled all the way from the Tetmon Primary School to be with us. And of course our visitors who came from Martinique and Guadeloupe.
They were joined by members of the Kalina Guada Association. Individuals were gifted traditional Kalinago names as part of the naming ceremony that afternoon. Kalinago Week continues with the official Kalinago Dress Day on Thursday, 21, and Kalinago Spelling Bee competition. On Saturday, 23, a ceremony will be held in honor of presidential nominee Mrs. Silvani Burton. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching.